Welcome back. This is the first official video of my journey to become a Gothi. I'm studying the Prose Edda today. My last video I told about the fooling of King Gylfi and the creation story. Today I want to talk about my favorite story in the Eddas, and that's the death of Balder. So Balder is loved by all the gods. He is the best of them all. He is the god of light, the god of the morning. Everybody loves Balder. But Balder dreamed dreams that foretold his own doom. And he told the Asas this, the gods of Asgard. He told them this, and they took counsel together because they all loved Balder and they all wanted to protect him. So Frigg, his mother, went to every creature in the entire universe, the stone, the wind, the beasts, the trees, man, everybody, and took from them an oath to not harm Balder. And of course, everything in the universe loved Balder so much that they gave their oath to never harm Balder. Being pleased with the oath, Frigg returned to Asgard, and thus a new pastime was born. Let's throw things at Balder. For Balder, it was a high honor, and the gods of Asgard thought so too. It was their new favorite pastime, and they would just throw things at Balder, hew at him, shoot things at him. Nothing would harm him. And it was a high honor for the gods to throw something at them. However, as in most of the stories, Loki did not like this. It's not explained why in the Eddas, why he didn't like this. Probably because why should Balder be invulnerable? Why should Balder, have this power, not Loki? Loki's not ever been the one to grasp that power. He's a mischievous one. All it does say, Balder's gift displeased him, and so he disguised himself as a woman, took the likeness of one of Frigg's handmaidens, and went to Frigg and asked her, did you really, take oaths from everything in the universe to not harm Balder? And she said, yes. Well, there was one thing. West of Valhall was a plant called the mistletoe, and mistletoe was far too young to take an oath from, so she didn't take the mistletoe. And with that knowledge, Loki disappears, and he goes and finds the mistletoe, and he takes it up the ground, and he fashions out of it a dart or a sword or an arrow, however the story goes. That's the thing about Norse mythology, is that it doesn't matter the weapon that was used. The fact that it was mistletoe was the thing. So in this iteration, it's a dart. He then returned to the gods, and they were in the middle of one of their favorite pastimes of let's throw things at Balder. And all the gods partook in this except for one named Hod. And Hod was a blind god who had no weapon. So Loki went to him and asked him, you should honor yourself and honor Balder by throwing things at him. And Hod, of course, says, I cannot see Balder, nor do I have a weapon. And Loki, being the pal he is, said, I have for you a weapon here, and I will show you where Balder is. All you have to do is throw. And of course, Hod took this opportunity and hurled the mistletoe dart at Balder, and the mistletoe dart pierced Balder, and he fell dead. And the gods wept. There was a wailing heard through all of Asgard as people couldn't even bring themselves to touch the corpse of Balder. It was so troubling for everybody. And Loki, of course, disappeared. You didn't want no part of that smoke. Trust me on that one. Everybody loved Balder. When the gods were able to regain themselves, to compose themselves, Frigg, asked everybody, who will go to hell and bargain and ask a ransom for her son back, And Balder's brother Hermon said he will go. Odin gave Hermon Sleipnir, his 8-legged horse, the fastest horse in all the realms. And off Hermon went on his journey. Now, while Hermon was doing this, the gods were preparing a vast funeral for Balder. They took his ship, the biggest ship in all the fleet, and they set upon it everything he had. And they set Balder's corpse upon it. And they called forth a giantess to come and push the boat out, because none of the gods could do it. Not even Thor with his ass of might could push the boat out. So when the giantess came in, she rode in on a wolf with twisting serpents for reins. And she got there and she pushed the boat so hard that it set ablaze on its own. This made Thor really mad, and he was about to smash that giant's head in, but all the gods pleaded for peace, because this was for Balder. Even the giants, the Jotuns, their mortal enemies, wept for Balder's death. This was a big honor for a Jotun to come and be at his funeral, and everybody attended the funeral. Odin with his ravens and his wolves and Frigg came, and Odin took this death the hardest. Maybe not as hard as Frigg, but he did take this the hardest, because while Thor, his firstborn, Balder was also his son, and probably the most loved. And this set into motion the Ragnarok, which is something Odin has always tried to, stop. Everyone came to Balder's funeral. Jotuns, Asas, humans came, kings came, And Nanna, Balder's wife, was so heartbroken over the death of Balder that she died of heartbreak, and they put her on the pyre too. They put Balder's horse onto the pyre, and for some reason there's a little dwarf that was running around, and Thor kicked into the fire. It's not told why or how. I don't understand that part. It's something I'm still gonna read up on more, but Thor does stuff like that. He's kind of a dick sometimes. But kicked the dwarf into the fire, and the fire was beautiful. It was grand. I mean, the biggest ship in the fleet just setting ablaze. Cut back to Hermon, who at this point has been riding for 9 days and 9 nights through the darkest valleys. No light until he gets to the gates of hell. And there's a guard there. And the guard asks, Hermon, why is he here? He's not hewn, he's not cut. He's a living person at the gates of hell. And Hermon says, I'm here to fetch my brother Balder. Has he gone this way? And of course, the guard says, yes, Balder came this way with his horse. Oh, back to the funeral. It's also important that Draupnir, Odin's ring, it's a heavy gold ring. It produces 9 copies of itself every 9 nights of equal weight. Odin put that on the pyre, on Balder's pyre. Comes back later. So, back to Hermon. He asks the guard, Balder has come this way. The guard says, yes, Balder has come this way. He is seated in the hall of death at this point, with Hel herself. So, Hermon, upon Sleipnir, rode across the bridge, came to the actual gates of Hel. They would not open. So he took the mighty Sleipnir, the 8-legged horse, and leaped over the gate in a single bound, not touching the gate at all. Such mighty a horse that Sleipnir was. He rode into the hall, and there in the hall, seated in a place of honor, was his brother Balder, next to Hel. He took the night there in Hel, and in the next morning, he pleaded, he bargained for his brother's release at Frigg's behest. And Hel said, if everybody so loves this Balder, then if everyone will weep for Balder, I will allow him to return home. Hermon with this news, took tokens from Nanna and Balder to send home. She sent Nanna, Balder's wife, gave Hermon a scarf for Frigg, and Balder gave Draupnir to Hermon to give back to his father. And back to Asgard, Hermon went with this news. The gods, hearing of this news, took counsel and sent out messengers across the world, asking everything to weep. Beasts, trees, wind, stone, metal, everything on this planet wept for Balder. Everything in the universe wept for Balder, for so loved was Balder in the 9 realms. His death was such a mourning. But in a certain cave sat a certain giantess named Thok. And when the messengers came to this Thok stated in a little poem that says, "Thok will weep with dry tears for Balder's burial. Neither in life nor in death gave he me gladness. Let hell keep what she has." In the Eddas itself, it says it's generally believed that Thok was Loki in disguise. And of course, this tale comes because, as I mentioned previous in the video, in the Eddas, Ganglir, King Gylfi, is still asking these questions. And the story comes about because he had asked the 3 kings what great tales they told of the Asas. And this tale was such the greatest tale. It was the first one they had to tell, the tale of Balder. So at the end of the tale, when they said it's generally believed that Thok was Loki, Ganglir, or King Gylfi, was shocked. And he asks, did any retribution happen to Loki for such a crime he committed? He not only caused the death of Balder, but he also blocked the return of Balder. It's such a horrible crime. And the kings answered, yes, of course, there was a giant manhunt for him. And Loki was very scared, so he hid himself in a rock and built a house with 4 doors so he can always keep a lookout. And in this rock, he built himself a net, the first fishing net ever made. And Odin found Loki because he sat in Hildeskalf, his high seat where he can look upon the whole world and know everything. Of course, Odin was going to find him. And Loki saw this and ran. He burned the net as fast as he could because he didn't want that secret getting out. And he turned himself into a salmon, and into a river he went. Well, the gods found Loki's home. And they found the burning remains of this net. And the first person into the home was the wisest of all the gods. His name was Kvasir. And also, Kvasir, mead was made from him. More on him later. So he came into the home and he saw the remains of the ashes that Loki burnt. And he deduced that is a net. And is a thing to catch fish with. So the gods recreated this and made a net. And on one side, Thor held it. On the other side, the rest of the gods held it. And they sat it in the river to try to catch Loki. But because there was nothing on the bottom of the net, Loki was able to swim under the net. He escaped their grasp once. So they came up with another plan. The net, this time still. They set something really heavy at the bottom of the net. Thor on the one side, the rest of the Asas on the other, and they pulled tight. But Loki, being as smart as he can, saw that the bottom was weighed down. He could not swim under. So he leapt over the net, much like salmon do. They leap into the water. And he escaped a second time. The third time, they tried this again, but this time, Thor put himself in the river holding the net. And when Loki tried to leap, Thor grabbed and almost skidded out of his hand, except at the tail. Thor latched on with an iron grip. And it is to this day why salmon have such small tails, because of Thor's grip. And they grabbed Loki and they took him they took him to punish him. What was the punishment? King Gylfi asked. What did the gods do to Loki? And this, I always felt, was a little too harsh. what the punishment they did to Loki. To this day, I'm like, okay, you could have just killed him. What they did was they took Loki.
Do you want to stop here and then next time tell Loki's story?
Oh, this is still part of Baldur's Tale.
Oh, okay.
What they did to Loki is they took him to a cave, and they fashioned 3 boulders in the cave, and they took his sons, and they turned one of his sons into a wolf, and that wolf killed the other son. And then they took the entrails from that son and tied Loki thusly to a rock. Under his loins, under his arms, under his hams, whatever that is, it's in the book. I'm guessing his buttocks maybe. And they lashed him to the rock. And they placed a venomous snake on his head that drips venom onto his face. And his wife, they had her hold the bowl to catch the venom. And every time that bowl fills up, she has to go and dump the venom out. And that's when more venom would drop on Loki's face, and he would shake with pain and anger, and that's why we have earthquakes today. And there they sit until Ragnarok, forever, lashed to a tree, or lashed to a rock with her catching poison. He's tied to a rock with his own son's entrails.
Did they force her to hold the bowl? Or I thought that was like her own, like she chose out of love.
It's not stated. They said that her job was to do that. It's probably a volunteer thing because, she loved Loki. Loki may have done some bad things, but he's not always a bad guy in the Eddas. Sometimes he's a bad guy. Sometimes he's a good traveling companion to Thor and Odin.
Maybe he's her bad guy. Bad for everyone else, but good for her.
I mean, some people like bad guys. It's in their DNA. But there he rests until Ragnarok comes back, and when Ragnarok comes around, where he will lead the Jotuns against the Asas. And at the end of Ragnarok, once it is all done, once the earth is torched, once Surt has destroyed Asgard and set fire to the planet, a new beginning happens. Green will start to sprout again. All the gods that are going to die in Ragnarok do die, but some of them live. For instance, Hod, the blind god, lives through Ragnarok. And Baldur, finally released from hell, comes back and shines a new light on the earth. And where after Ragnarok, all good men and women who've done great deeds in life go to Gimle to live forever in peace and happiness. And that, my friends, is the story of Baldur. And I tell you why it's my favorite story, because Baldur was the god of, he was the good god. It's like the Dadga in Celtic mythology, the good god. Baldur was kind of the good god. He was god of sunshine, god of light. Everybody looked forward to the sunrise because that was Baldur saying everything was going to be okay. The darkness is past. And for him to die in such a way where he was held in such an honor and killed through trickery and mischievous and deception, for me, it's like people die for no reason. People die for bad reasons. Baldur died because Loki was mad. And he was so loved, even in hell, he was placed at a place of honor. So, for me, when someone dies that I really hold in high respect, or a Baldur in my life, and my grandfather died when I was young. Not that young, I was 18 when he died, but he was a big influence on my life. And when he died, I wept like the gods wept for Baldur's death. I was inconsolable. I bargained, I pleaded, I wished and begged for him to return. But I know wherever he's at right now, whatever afterlife he decided to go to, I know he's sitting in a place of honor. And I know his light's still shining, much like Baldur's light shines down in hell, or in hell. And that brings me joy. And I tell that to people. You may have lost a loved one who was your everything. but they're in hell shining brightly for you, and they will return to bring a new green day for you. And that, my friends, is why the death of Balder, while sad, is probably my favorite of the stories in the Eddas. Thank you for joining me. I found this grove. I thought it would be a great place. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give a like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.